There it is. It's been in the minds of so many of the people connected with this race. The big climb today up Zoncolan, 185 kilometres on this day. Looking down at the situation, the big battle rage between Simone and Garzelli for the pink jersey, but further on down, outside the top 10, there's some specialist climbers who might cause a few upsets today. Getting towards the top now of the first big climb of the day, over the top then, as now the race behind is beginning to form in this gorgeous sunshine. Welcome then to our coverage of this stage of the Tour of Italy, the San Donna di Piave to the Monte Zoncolan, and we've just seen a little bit of a break over the top then to sort things out, and Brusigan, the leader of the Fassa Bertolo team, going over the top, and then Gonzalez here getting himself points in the Kingman's Company. This is the first climb of the day, and whilst Brusigan got 10 points, Gonzalez has got himself 6 points, and as he came into this race wearing that green jersey as leader on the Kingman's competition, that's going to be a useful few points to have, because the next climb we go over the Selvacada, with only 22 kilometres to go from the finish, will be 5, 3 and 1 point. So I think that Fred is going there to make sure he has that pink jersey at the end of it all. Today is a great day for the climbs, and so we might see the group behind here just perhaps keeping their powder dry until we get to those last two climbs of the day, the Selvacada and that phenomenal climb which we've just given you, looking at other climbs similar to the one they're going over. As we get closer to it, I'll take you through the seriousness of the climb, and it is an absolute corker. But this is just stretching the legs of the riders before we get into that particular position. You can see this group here behind, coming up here. They're going to have to watch and be careful that the riders up in front of the breakaway group we had with Brusigan and Caucioli, Gonzalez, Gutchenko and Badieri, that those riders in front don't provide something of a stepping stone for the people who are battling for that pink jersey and the stage victory today. Moving forward, you can see the jerseys in the Lazio team, and there also on the left hand side looks like we've got Pierre Cupio coming up. Perez from the Panararia team, the Mexican rider. This is going to be his sort of day, and with the weather conditions somewhat better for the climbers, they've actually seen now got a bit of a following wind. The course is very tricky, it twists and turns, and I'll try and put you in the picture in just a moment as to where we are. And because it curls round, they're going to be sometimes with a following wind, but the long run before we came on air, they'd had a long run in towards the in towards this particular point, and they had a lot of trouble with the headwinds. As we're looking now, moving, this is into the headwind bit here, but look how complicated it becomes as we run through. This is the flatter part of the course, and we start, there's the Fuesa you've just seen. Now we curl round here, the wind is behind them, and as they turn into Monte Zoncolan, the wind is in front of them, and then when they got the final climb, the wind is behind them. So it's a very tricky day today, but we're looking back to what happened yesterday at San Donna di Piave. Top hand corner there is the crash which took out Cipollini, and the sad news is that this morning Cipollini did not start the race. Cipollini was injured, he's been knocked about. They can't find anything that's seriously wrong with him, but he's had shock during the night, he couldn't sleep. They do think perhaps he might have had a cracked vertebrae, but they can't find out because all the swelling. And the man who took him out to Galvez also did not start this morning. He was also injured in that crash. There they go, bang, bang. Look at the rest coming behind. After the stage, you may have seen it yesterday, if you see it for the first time here on your screens, the riders were full of abuse to the organisation that put a finish 150 metres from that turn. If it'd been dry, it would have been equally as bad, and for a big man like Cipollini, he was in trouble. This is a scenic bit before we go back again, as the race has gone through some delightful parts of Italy before they go up into what is a ski resort, best known to perhaps those of you who go off skiing. I'm not quite sure how many of the Brits then go all the way out to that delightful finish of today, but I'll just shut up and you just absorb the beauty of Italy. And the food too. The Parma ham's nice. Oh, and the Lambrusco went down well too. Oh, the hams, that's it, the Parma ham. Further a bit from here, by the way, they just happen to have their own ham here too as well. Well, just enjoy it. Looking there at the cable car, which are carrying the riders down the mountain when they finish the stage. We're going back again to the leaders. These are the people who we see battling it out, coming up towards this mountain top. The snow is actually, fortunately, disappeared. There's little pockets of it still, but Simoni in the lead by a slender 2 seconds from Garzelli. You can see what's there on the screen as our cameras, they've gone off the picturesque sign, but my tip for today, for somebody who could turn this thing upside down, has to be Pantani. As I picture now back to Cipollini, suffering from that accident yesterday. This is the curse, perhaps, of the rainbow jersey. More of that and on in just a moment. I've got a lot of facts and figures about riders wearing that jersey who've had not a very nice season after they won it. Back then to the start this morning, and there a quick look from the crowd at the man Garzelli, and the 10X lads too as well, how well they did yesterday when they two of them went away and got to that enormous lead. In fact, one of them, the Russian rider coming through, that was he was actually living in this part of the world, so that's why he showed up. But this man too is going to show today. I'm sure that Perez will surprise a few people on an interesting day's race coming up after this. Thank goodness it's a gorgeous day, because this climb lying ahead of them, really, it's been, as we're looking here, going over the first climb of the day, setting in toward the second climb, and this is Bruzagin riding for the Fassa Bertolo team, and I think he's just been out there to suck the strength of the chasers. We'll get more about his position in just a moment overall on the general classification, but we haven't actually seen a profile on our screen yet a while, but the whole sort of look at it, we've seen a map the way they're going, but after the top of this climb here, they've actually come dead flat towards the climb here of the Fuesa, and then they're going to drop down, and there's a little sort of sharp little climb after it, and then right down into the valley. So really the action for the change of the overall situation, I think, will come when they get down into the valley, when we go through a place called Villa Santina, and then we'll start to see, I think, the big guns starting to fire. But undoubtedly a lot of riders already going off the back, and the interesting thing too, of course, is what gears are they going to ride. The mechanics have been working overnight. Certainly after the wet day yesterday, the mechanics had a tremendous job to do. Those riders had crashed, their bikes had to be checked over, handlebar tape replaced, maybe busted brake levers and so on. They went very hard down yesterday, but they were mainly the sprinters, and the sprinters are at the back of the field, but still their bikes had to be set up for today. And the whole thing was what sort of gears would you use on that final climb. And there's stories, in fact, that Simoni, for instance, in fact, not a story, it's the truth, that Simoni has 2 spare bikes, and for that final climb he's got a replica of the bike he's going to ride, but he's also got one there with a triple chain ring, and they were getting it ready in case the weather conditions were going to be very wet indeed today. He might have needed an even lower gear, so they're looking at, they have got a spare bike, Simoni, a third bike, which there is a triple chain set on the bike with an extremely low gear if the conditions got very wet and nasty. But today it looks that the gods are shining on the Tour of Italy, whilst I think round about this part of the world to the north on both sides of where the race is coming today, it's a bit nasty. As we go back then to our group here, these are the chasers after our leader. Freddy Gonzalez at the bottom in the green jersey, and you can see the run down again with Zabala. He's also been chasing for the points in the Kingdom Managed competition, and so he's going to, I think, sit on the wheel of Freddy for an awful long time, and possibly after the next climb then it'll be settled in such a way that Freddy may well be caught up by the main field going for that final climb of the day, and who's going to take the pink jersey at the end of it all. So there's a race within a race, as you're seeing the riders here coming off the top of that climb. The first climb of the day, the big one at Fuesa, 129 kilometres covered, 56 kilometres from the finish. This is the man here in the green jersey, finishing second spot behind Bruzagin. So he got himself 6 points in the Kingdom Managed competition. Bruzagin taking 10, but he hasn't been featuring. And this is the fellow off the front now with 50 kilometres to go. Gorgeous scenery. They're going up. Now, you also like to know where we are. So I've been so keen to get you sort of in the mood of what's happening today, and our lovely pictures of the previous big hell of climbs that we've had to just show you there. And with your maps of Italy in front of you, with the big large ones maybe, if you obviously know we come through just north of Venice, and out round the bay you can see Trieste, where in fact I saw my first ever Tour of Italy in 1951, and that's in Trieste, further around the bay. So you find Venice and Trieste, and then between the two go north, and you'll see a place called Udine, U-D-I-N-E, and they're just going north of there. They've actually started just near to Venice, where the race finished yesterday. If you mark down in maps of St. Donna, they ran out, then going out towards this northeasterly direction, heading towards Udine, and then up there into the climbs which lie ahead. So you can see all the mountainous stuff on your maps, and that's where they're going into right now, and that's going to be a new finish. We've not had this one here before, and more of that anon once this race settles down, because it really is a climb that is quite spectacular. Not only the seriousness of the whole thing, but the scenery off the top. And you see the mountains that they're going through here now, heading up towards that lovely range of mountains at the top. Then this is where we're going to see gorgeous sights. Normally, say, the place where only you can go up there and skiing and enjoying yourself. And those of you who go skiing in a place like Cortina, that's over to the left, far across the same range of mountains. But that's where we're going up now. And the field, I think, will be under pressure from serious riders who want to get a few minutes ahead, because the general story is, if you want to go up the last climb in a good position, you're not a climber, you must be something like 10 minutes ahead of the main pack. Well, that's what I think the group's trying to do, but the gap isn't that big at the moment, as the chasers going after our leader are now being hounded down by the main group. Fassa Bertolo team is watching Brusigan here on the front. That's a rundown on his performances over the year. Quite a recent pro, just only what's coming to his 6th year now, and has ridden, as you can see here, 4 times in the Tour. They didn't put him out as the #1 for some odd reason. I've never quite found out as to why Fassa Bertolo didn't make him #1, because they have brought with them some interesting gaggle of riders, including Aito Gonzalez, winner last year of the Tour of Spain, and they also brought Dario Frigo, who's on the smaller tours quite capable of winning those, and when he gets to this level he drops back to 2nd or 3rd place, but for some reason they made Brusigan the key man, and perhaps that's not as a bad thing, because right now he's up there trying to sort things out for his team, because his 2 teammates I just mentioned to you have really fallen out of the frame and not had a very good tour so far. So with Frigo going back here to our little group at the front. In fact, there's somebody else has joined across. 2, 4, 6, 7. Somebody's jumped across. The gap isn't that big on the chasers, so that is beginning to grow. Brusigan this morning was 8 minutes and 5 seconds down on the general classification, just behind his teammate Frigo. Frigo was 7 minutes and 45 down, a man who we thought would have been challenging for the overall victory. But today, Frigo has to, I think, get some honour back by climbing up the 21st place. He is now at 7:45 and doing something about it. A long way back is Aito Gonzalez, who's 13 minutes and 12 seconds down on the general classification. This is a day where certainly people can gain time on other people, so we might find the climbing specialists moving up. But I think Aito Gonzalez, he's been looking a bit puffy. Well, I say puffy, I mean, doesn't look slimmed down. I don't think that he's really fitted into the frame yet so far. They may be disappointed by the fact that he hasn't done better than he's doing, but Aito Gonzalez needs to, I think, sharpen up a bit. So he's riding back there in 36th spot at 13 minutes and 12 seconds. So therefore the Fassa Bertolo team are sending off this man on your screen now. Brusigan lying in 22nd spot at 8 minutes and 5 seconds. Frigo, their best placed man, at 7:45. But they also had a lot of publicity during the race so far, because Alessandro Petacchi, who's had that pink leader's jersey, also rides for Fassa Bertolo. Right, we're going then, as you can see, the days in the pink jersey going back to 1992. That's in obviously recent years, because the Tour of Italy is the 2nd oldest big stage race in the world. And as you can see, there are the days in the pink jersey, and right down there with Simone back in 10th spot with Garzelli and Frigo. This is adding together the times that they've had that pink jersey. Casagrande there with 11 and Pantani with 14. And out of that little lot, as we move up the list, it's just Tonkov in third spot with 20 days, who's racing in this race. Tony Dommerger and Miguel Indurain are both retired from the sport now, although both of them interested in it because Indurain is one of the chaps who's part of the committee of the professional cyclists, and still the UCI rely upon him for his judgment when it comes to professional cycling. And Tony Rominger works for one of the big American groups, TWI, and is involved in the organisation of things like the Tour Romandie and the Tour of Switzerland, upcoming Tour of Switzerland. Tony Rominger still in the sport, but Tonkov and the rest down there are still there, so perhaps those pink jersey numbers might change, but trying to catch after Rominger and Indurain is not quite an easy thing to do. Gorgeous day, down we go. This is a bet pass, I suppose, for any cycling that's going downhill, as Bruzagin is trying to get away, but somehow I think it's going to be a forlorn try to split this little field. He's on a descent at this particular moment, which will bring him down and ready for the second climb. It's a long old drag from here, by the way. They're going up slowly but surely, and it's around about 20 kilometres of an uphill graft towards the climb of the Sella Valcalda. So it's nice nipping down here. When you get down to the town at the bottom, Villa Santina, and then that's when he's going to start to find that life is a bit on the tough side, because he's still having ahead of him on the run in then towards the next climb of the day. He's got something like about 20 kilometres to do, and the last bit goes up to the climb then of the Sella Valcalda, and I think by then some of the people behind will start to close the gap down, because once we get over the top of that one, it's a swift descent down into the valley, and there's a descent which will only take them about 9 kilometres, and then we start the final climb of the day, the horrific climb which has been having people hold their breath, and we'll be seeing that on Eurosport. And thank goodness we got a gorgeous day and a massive crowd waiting to see the arrival of the riders here on stage 12 of the Tour of Italy. It's our man in the lead at the moment, with getting up to about 40 kilometres to go. And oh, in fact, no, by mistake, I just looked at the blue and white jersey. This in fact is the chase group after Bruzagin, and it's growing as we are on air watching it. And somehow, because the gap isn't all that great, I think they're going to get company too as well, as Bruzagin presses on here. Sorry about that, I looked up and saw a blue and white jersey, and there he was out in the lead at the moment. But the chasing group, you want to know who they are. Behind him is Carcioli from the Alessio team, number 2, as the main pack are beginning to close that gap. So perhaps it's a waste of time, but at least I'm sure many of you would like to know who's tried to do something. You see there the red jersey of Psycho with the pink jersey of Simone, and now setting up that breakaway group to pull them back, because Carcioli was the danger man in that little group, because coming into the stage today, a lot of people thought that perhaps he could do something, and now they're trying to close down on Carcioli, and he'd been up there in the top 10 throughout this race, and then suddenly they realise now in the climbs perhaps he is a danger man, hence the need to try and pull him back. But anyway, he's dropped a bit out of the frame recently, but still they can't allow anybody the freedom, because they can be timing the riders at the top of the finish today. I think they're going to use a calendar rather than a stopwatch. Right, back then to who's in that group, not this lot here, but here's our leader, Bruzagin from the Fassa Bertolo team. Chasing then is number 2, Alessio Carcioli. And you can see back down, that's 125 back to the little group I'm going to tell you about, 335 to the group containing the leader's jersey, and here you can see them all begin to form behind him, let him do all the work at the moment. So in that little middle group there, at 1 minute 25 seconds, is number 2, Carcioli. In that group too as well, I'll give the numbers as well, because just naming them may mean nothing to you, but if you write them down, then you can see them and say, well, I think he's a good guy, I'll support him. Let's get them all the support you can. Number 13 then, from the CC Polsat team, is Broznia, a Polish rider, Brozyna. Broznia, number 13, in that chasing group. This is what you're looking at there. There's the orange shirt, that's Broznia. As I speak, he pops up before our very eyes. In that breakaway group 2 at the moment, 102 in that group, riding for the Kelme team is Garcia Cuesta. Garcia Cuesta, 102. He's got his teammate there as well too, Zabala, who's been battling for the for the green jersey in the Kingman's competition. So the Kelme rider Zabala has 109, 1 minute 25 seconds behind our rider on the screen. Also in that group at the moment, 113, and there's a very useful climber too as well from the Lampre team, and that must be a stepping stone for Casagrande, who rides the Lampre squad, who are just back there in the purple and pink and blue jerseys. the Lampre rider in that little breakaway group now is 113 Belly. In that group 2 at the moment, number 72 is Sandy Cassar from the F de Jeu team. That's Bradley Wiggins' team, and the rider from F de Jeu in that breakaway group. He just joined them a bit further back down the road, so he's gone across the gap, and Sandy Cassar, number 72, in that chase group. All the 2s as well, because number 32, we saw him earlier on, he was in that original break that started to form at the front, and Freddie Gonzalez chasing after now Bruzigin. In fact, Bruzigin was with them for a short while, drifted off down the road, but Freddie Gonzalez finished second behind Bruzigin here on the climb, the first category climb, the Fueso, and he's wearing number 32 and the green jersey as leader on the Kingman's competition. In that group 2 as well, the number 85, and 85 is Bo Hamburger, and that's nice to see Bo back, by the way, because he had a bit of a trough in his career, and a great rider for the Formaggio Fiavi team. So he's in there at the moment, and he's riding number 85 in his back. If our cameras pick him up, then they're a sort of lightish blue jersey. Let's see if he goes through here. No, that's Cassar at the back. Looking again for, yes, he's just gone, I think, off on the right hand side of our screen. So Bo Hamburger from Denmark in that group, together with Adiev from the Lambo Credit Colnago team. Adiev from the Ukraine, very useful all-round rider, as I think that's Perez starting to move towards the front of the group right now. Yes, it is Perez Cupio from Mexico. Look how he goes up. Look, he just smoothly rides his way up the front, and I don't know why he's doing that. I don't think anybody understands Perez's tactics. He just does things. He's a real loose cannon. Now he goes up because his team aren't with him at all. He's just riding up there, going past. I mean, in a normal racing, I'd love Sean Kelly's comment upon this. As Perez, oh, I see, he wanted to see a man about a dog. He's got a puncture. He's an unusual character. He's stayed with the same team, or the team manager, since the years he turned pro, and he's a happy, smiling fellow. Just gets on and rides his bike and doesn't do much till we get to the mountain. The next thing you see him zooming all over the place, but that looks like he had to see a man about a dog, which is not normal when the weather's very hot like we got today, because in those conditions, what normally happens is that you sweat and you don't need to pop off and see a man about a dog. This is Gobby at the moment from the Dinardi Colpack team, I think, coming up on our screen. I'm just trying to check to see what's going on here, because he's on his own at the moment. This is something I know not of right now. There we are. This is a little graphic on the right hand side showing you where we're going to finish up there at the top of that climb, where riders will be grovelling in the low gears. My thanks to Graham Jones, because he went round this morning. It's difficult when we're doing our commentary, and we hope that in the mountains we can still pick up the bold Christy Anderson, who's driving up towards the finish, because commentators, you can't do everything at once, so want to get some of your friends to do certain things to provide you with information, and we all work together. And Graham Jones from the Abbotsford Park Cycling Club, 20th in the big Tour of France a few years ago, and many of you may know that if you go out and watching this thing settling down here, that Graham goes out to Lanzarote for 6 weeks and is part of a training camp out there, and also those riders on the Tour of Langkawi and all the people that listen to the radio tour out there in February, or late January, early February, the dulcet tones in French and English. That's Graham Jones, who is still deeply involved in the sport and is out there and providing me with information about the lower gears that the riders are going to be using today. So my thanks then to Graham, and also the thanks to, I can't remember if we see now Pantana 141 on your screen, if I've not, because I've had an email sent to me, finally arrived from Duncan Hammond from the Abbotsford Park Road Club, and whilst watching this lot settle down, he said the story, he said, in fact, I don't think I've used it, something's flying around, he said that, because I often mention people like Gino Bartali and Fausto Coppi, who are great grand champions over the years. In fact, the press are talking now that the battles between Gino Bartali and Fausto Coppi are now being replicated between the battle between Garzelli and Simoni, because both of them won the Tour of Italy twice, both of them have got banned like they did last year, and both of them now are separated by only 2 seconds on today. So they're trying to make the press a sort of similarity between Fausto Coppi and Gino Bartali. And he said that, sending this email through, that he read the letter in Cycling Magazine many years ago, and he couldn't remember the name of the person who wrote the letter, but he thought he came from the south of England. And the letter, he told at the time, was that when he was in the Second World War, this is not Fausto Coppi, sorry, it wasn't Duncan Hammond, it was this chap who wrote up to Cycling Weekly, that he was serving North Africa and he needed a haircut, and he was told of an Italian prisoner of war who was prepared to cut hairs, and that was the man. When you want your haircut, you went to Italian prisoner of war. And this cyclist from the south of England, in there during the war in North Africa, sat down to have his hair trimmed, and he said who came towards him. He was so amazed to see it was none other than Fausto Coppi. And he couldn't believe his eyes, and he sat speechless while the Campagnissimo cut his hair. Now, that's an amazing story, isn't it? I could only take it on from Duncan Hammond, and the fact it was said to be in Cycling Weekly, but I know that we all know that Fausto Coppi did. I told her the weather's nice up at the top. Suntan time. Anyway, back to Fausto Coppi. That I didn't know he was good at trimming hair. I knew he was good at riding a bicycle. But if there's some truth in that story, and I'm sure there must be, because you couldn't invent a thing like that, could you? So thanks to Duncan Hammond from the Abbotsford Park RC in Manchester, and also thanks to Graham Jones, a life member of the Abbotsford Park RC, for his help in grovelling around and looking at the small detail of the bicycles, which we'll be hearing shortly. Well, let me tell you very quickly then, in case you have to nip out and miss it. As we go on now, you can see the gap back to the pink jersey, that Casagrande is going to be riding a 30 by 27. This is the bottom gear. Those who know about these things will understand these things. Perez, Cupio, we've just seen nipping off the front to see a man about a dog, 39 by 27. And Simone, who's here in this little group at the moment, has got 3 bikes. One he's riding, one spare which is a replica of the one he's riding, and another one. And his bottom gear is a 39 by 28. The same bike which he's got as a spare is exactly the same ratio, but he's got a spare which has got a triple chain ring, and they got that ready in case the weather was very nasty and he needed an even lower gear than the one he set himself up to. So people who don't much about cycling are completely banjaxed now by the numbers I've just read out, but the specialists in cycling will understand a bit about what I'm talking about, and also those who understand the sport and be watching with us for the last 11 days will recognise down there the British champion is lying in the top 20. Well done, Julian Wim. We have 30 minutes to go, and you're looking at the chasing group trying to pull back Bruzigan, who's down the road on his own at the moment. The last time check we had was 2 minutes and 5 seconds back to this group here. Then back further down, the pink jersey group is at 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So this little lot here have a lead of something like about 1 minute and 40 seconds on this group you're seeing here on your screen right now. Bruzigan's got about 30 kilometres to go towards the finish of the stage, and it's not a sort of a finish that those who can't climb hills would enjoy, because we're getting to the point then on this stage today, stage 12 of the Tour of Italy, San Donati di Piave to Monte Zoncolan, when with 185 kilometres to be covered, 105 miles in all. So they've just got on there about 150 kilometres of racing. They're heading in now towards what you see in the distance there, which is going to be, I suppose today, one of those real epic days in bike racing. Thank goodness the weather is good, and we're watching the Psycho Cannondale team here just towing up the man in that pink jersey towards a battle which really should set the scene for the next few days, because after this stage today, we've got an undulating day tomorrow on stage 13. Bad luck that Cipollini will not be with us then, because he's having had that terrible crash. He's out of the race. If you just tuned on to our coverage of Eurosport, good afternoon to you watching our live coverage. And then we go on to stage 14, where we've still got a lot more climbs, including one up towards the top of the mountain, and then it's going to be a time trial stage after that, and then on to a flat stage, stage 16, and then we've got the big climbs, 2 of them at the back end of the race, and the last big climbing day, finishing at the top of the mountain of the Casata del Doce, is on 19th stage, with just the 20th flattish stage to follow, and the final day to Milan as a time trial. So this could be really setting the scene for the next stages to come, where undoubtedly the best climber will say, I'm now the boss, with 30 k's to go. You can see our chase group here, and to remind you once again of this breakaway group. In that group is now at 224. Number 2, that is Cargioli from the Alessio team. Number 13 in the breakaway group, or chase group, is Bronja from the Polish team CC Polstad. Number 102 in that breakaway group at the moment is Garcia Cuesta from the Kelme team. His teammate with him too is 109 Zabala. In that breakaway group, 113 Belli. Here they are. At the back of the group, you can see at the moment, that's Sandy Kazar riding for the F de Jure in those greyish pants, same team as Bradley Wiggins. Bradley Wiggins, yes. But going back to Brits, Charlie Vegelis, who's still hurting from the 2 crashes he's had. He's riding a 30 by 31 today, amazingly low gear. Charlie, I think, has just put the gears down to survive the day, because he and people like Bradley Wiggins are looking for an undulating stage later when they might go for a stage rig. Thing is to survive today. Many people are riding even lower gears than I've given you already. Now we're adding together the total uphill distances throughout the races, and you can see here the total uphill showing that this year it's not that bad compared with the year 2002, and even worse than in the year 2000. But it's just the distance you see on the right hand side. It's how severe it is, because there are climbs which are so severe, not only the actual climbing itself, but how steep the climb is. And in the Tour of Italy in the past, 1999, over the Mortirolo, that was one of the hardest climbs that they've seen until the race today. So it doesn't actually feature on a little list there as part of the adding together. So it's the steepness, the severity, and also, apart from adding those together, now statistic guys have done a great job there, it's how those climbs may fit into the day's racing. If you only got one big climb at the end of maybe 160 k's or something, it's not that bad. But when you get several climbs like we've had today, coming in not exactly quick succession, but coming towards the back end, then it can sap the strength of the riders. And Eddie Mazzoloni, gosh, he's been around a few years now, just making a bit of adjustment there to his back brake. I'm not sure if he's freed the thing off, but probably there's a little knurled nut on some of the brakes at the back that now he must have punctured, because he's been chased back in again now. The way he put his hand down towards the back end, that's the sort of thing that when you puncture, you have to drop the wheel out. Technicalities coming up, by the way. There's a quick release mechanism to make sure that as you drop the wheel out, with the tyres flat, it doesn't matter. Once the tyre is flat, that's it. The rim can easily go clear of the brake blocks. But when they put the new wheel in, which has got a tyre that's highly inflated, an inflated tyre on a rim, and you certainly know this, cyclists, is that the actual tyre is wider from left to right than the rim. And so if you're not careful as a bike rider, if you don't take the little quick release mechanism and open up the back blocks, if you drop the wheel out, because it doesn't matter there with a flat tyre, out goes the rim, clears the brake blocks, no trouble at all. The mechanic rushes up with the spare wheel. He whacks it in towards replacing, as Mr. Saki is really concentrating on the day. He's not bothered about what I'm talking about, how to change wheels in a puncture. But when you shove the wheel back in again, if the gap hasn't been opened up between the brake blocks, then you can knock the brake blocks out. And of course, a bike without a brake block is a bit of a nuisance anyway. So the thing to do, the riders, as they take the back wheel out, before they do that, they knock off the open the quick release mechanism, so that the wheel drops in the new one, and then he has to come back and knock it in. And obviously there's no sense standing on the side of the road and adjusting the brakes. I think this looks like two of our guys in the breakaway group have suddenly sagged off and been caught by the main pack now. It's no good doing it on the side of the road. I think just get back on your bike, and then as you get further down the road with a teammate going, just put your hand down there and just push the lever, which puts the rim and the brake blocks in the right position. Right, about chatting on about technicalities whilst the race is going before your very eyes, but it's just one of those little things that people who love cycling love to see these riders in action. Don't always understand the little technicalities, and it just shows you, a bike isn't just a bike. It's very complicated bit of mechanism, and the mechanics been working all the way through until the early hours this morning, getting the bikes ready for today, checking them over and making sure they've got the right gears for the day today. Well, I was going to read out those riders in that group chasing Mr. Bruce again, but they're coming back now. and I think we might as well leave them out there to fry. But my thanks then to Graham Jones and the work he's done in helping us in deciding what sort of gears these people are riding on. And my thanks also to the emails like we had from Duncan Hammond about copy and cutting that hair of one of the British soldiers during the war, and also thanks to the emails and letters and things that come through. They often take time to find me, and I'm sorry if I can't reply to them all on air. And it does appear too that I've noticed some of the, eventually when I get back home, there's a pile of letters and things there, because not everybody has email facilities, that some of them get going to the wrong address. And one of them I had before I came on the tour was from Ethel Brambleby, a very great supporter of cycling over the years, and so she had sent a letter to the wrong address. So it was the Drury Lane was the old address, and just whilst we're watching this thing here before your very eyes, knowing that we've got quite a useful audience today, if you want to write to British Eurosport, the address is 84 Theobalds Road. That's 84 Theobalds Road in London, and the postcode is WC1X. So even if you just get the WC1X down and British Eurosport on 84 Theobalds Road, then eventually it'll find its way through to me. That it does take time, by the way, because the girls are very busy, and by the time I get them, sometimes they're way out of date. And I know that back at home there's a whole pile of cards and letters which I shall have to deal with when I get there. So thank you all, the viewers, for your support, and for those of you who've had a few hiccups and problems when British Eurosport have not given you like the full Liège-Bastogne-Liège and bits of only of certain bits of the Amstel Gold. Do bear with us, but today you're getting 3 hours, and look at this, even Copy's name comes up. So yes, you get the odd hiccups, yes, you have the right to complain about it, but on days like this, when we're going towards one of the classic climbs that will be part of the history of the Tour of Italy, and you can watch it live on British Eurosport and International Eurosport this afternoon. And I think you will join me in saying thanks to all the production people who bring you this, and the riders too, who are going to give us, I think, a cracking day's racing here. And at the end of it all, who's going to win? Honestly, I'm not allowed to be partisan about these things. I'm sure that Simone and Garzelli are going to really sort it out today, but looking for the oddballs who are inclined to do strange things, then Mr. Perez Cupio is one that we should look out for. But if Pantana's got anything left in his legs, then he also could entertain us, as the riders from the Psycho team here towing up the pink jersey to catch that breakaway group are putting the pressure on to try and catch this man. Bruzagin from the Fassa Bertolo team has been sent out there to make life very difficult indeed for the pink jersey. Bruzagin coming into the race this morning on the overall classification 22nd at 8 minutes and 5, and the maximum lead I think he had was about 4.5, maybe 5 minutes. So they had to get stuck in, they couldn't let him lie out there, as the remnants of the group of riders that were in that early chase group, I think most of them seem to be here at the moment. Let's try and sort them out for you as they go through camera switches somewhere else. That is the problems of live television. The man pressing the buttons decides to do something, and oops, here we go. This is interesting, because one of the riders, F de Jure, moving off the front, and this is Fritsch, the French rider. Talking to Bradley Wiggins the other day, he said that he's the guy they've been looking after, trying to keep him in contention. And Bradley, on the general classification, is way off the pace at the moment, because he's been looking after a bloke like Fritsch, and Bradley's job is to look after him, to fetch and carry when he wants a drink or he's got a problem with his bike or something. And Fritsch was the one, and I couldn't understand that, because their best sprint has been ISIL. As you now look at where we're going up toward the top of this little climb here, I'll say little, it's a second category climb, the Selva-Vacada, and the points of 5, 3 and 1 at the top for the competition in the Kingdom Mountains section of this race, where the green jersey is being worn by none other than Mr. Freddy Gonzalez. And now the riders here from the Psycho team recognise that they've got to start to come a bit, I think, and close the thing down, as just behind here, 25 kilometres to go. Trying to work out what's happening, because we're looking at the back of this little group. Then Brozina, the Polish rider, looks calm, doesn't he? Those riders in front only Bruzagin is a bit of a problem. Even got, hey, look at this. That's showmanship, isn't it? You've got the pink jersey, you have your pink bins on as well. They've been over the top of the Fuesa, a climb which was 10 kilometres long. Bit of a dip in the midst of it all, and over the top of that one, the gap was reasonable enough to cause a bit of problems, but not too much, as we saw Freddie Gonzalez get himself over in second spot behind Bruzagin, so that's, I think, probably going to get him the green jersey, provided he doesn't get completely demolished on the next climb. In fact, I don't think he's going to get that. He's going over the top of the second category climb, and so we know the Fuesa already on that climb. Then that was 10 kilometres to climb, and over the top of it they went on the climb of the Fuesa, a distance of 10.7 kilometres. The maximum climb was 14%. The average was 8.4. So that was the first climb they've been over today, and now going on this little drag up the second category climb as they go towards the top of the Sello of Alcada. This is just 7 kilometres, and it rises up 433 metres. Maximum is 12%. Pantani starting to move forward. This is, look, if we go back here where that camera's picking up the chasers, I won't say the mice the way the cats do play, or sort of cats the way the mice do play, but up in front, that little breakaway group have been pretty active. They've put the pressure on this lot because the Bruzagin down the road, it meant that the Psycho team had to chase, and that I think was a good tactical move by the Fassa Bertolo team, as we're now getting in towards the very key part of this race. Just inside those final 25 kilometres. There's the gap still. A little chase pack, 130. Main group 235 behind that, which makes nearly 3-4 minutes is the lead that Bruzagin has at the moment. Here he is. In fact, no, we've gone back. His camera whizzes round and picks up one then the other. And yeah, now these are part of that breakaway group that we had earlier on. We just saw them on the screen that they were 125 back on Bruzagin, and trying to prize themselves out. At the Ev at the moment for the Lambro Credit Colnago team, and the red and white is just moving his way through. And in fact, no, he's moving his way off the back. Here comes the main group. The cavalry's arrived, chaps. That's it. And here they come, so that's slimming down the group between Bruzagin and the main pack. And now watch how many, if I go off and check about other things, watch how many of these Psycho riders in the red are able to stay the pace. They've had to pull back Bruzagin. It's been their work to do it today, which means that further back down here, the rest of the riders from Fassa Bertolo, including Frigo, are now getting an easier ride. And there's just one drifted off. He's done his job now. He's taking a drink, and I think it might have been Saki. We saw him before. He with the little goatee beard, blonde goatee beard, was really driving hard. I've been disrespectful looking down here, and he's still in there. My apologies to his family and friends who may be listening to this on our international coverage. But the Psycho team are just down now, apart from Simone in the pink, to 4 helpers for him. There are the Psycho riders. Simone's still just behind. It isn't just catching back Bruzagin in the front here. It's riding at a pace which makes life difficult for the rest of the field. And we come out then towards the top of the climb. Once we get over here, the Sello of Alcada, this second category climb, there'll be 22.3 kilometres to go to the finish. So not long before it gets, well, a bit difficult, to put it mildly. So if you've just come on, switched on your TV set and watching anything you can see that's here on the afternoon, and you found cycling, then I suggest that once we get over this one, they whiz down the other side, and that will be a moment respite for the riders until they go into the final run-in, a nice little circular route to go into the finish for the first time of the Monte Zoncolan. And when they get down to the bottom, they were going to drop something around about 7 or 8 kilometres downhill. And then once they're there at the bottom, they start the final climb. So the whole thing, I think, as far as they're concerned, Psycho, is to keep lid on it until we get to Sello of Alcada, and then when they go down the other side, the drop they should all get down together. People being shelled out the back will be with them. So the whole enactment of this stage will be before your very eyes on that final climb of this phenomenal hill. More about that as we start it. That's 13 kilometers, and towards the top it's 22%, and before that 2 stretches of 18%, and we're talking about, you know, nearly 1 in 4 at one particular point on this climb. And it's almost like get off and walk, lads. It's Shanks's pony rather than a lowish gear. That lies ahead of these riders today. As I think, looking down here, Bruce again, let's see about if we can get down to his gear ratio at the back. Many might find has got long gear arms. They don't have these short gear arms that you find normally on racing bikes. Many of them now got a longer gear arm, so that the mechanism with the springs will take up the slack that will be there as he's now getting towards the top of this final climb. And the gears, 2 kilometers to the clock. Let's see what's down here that he's got. He's on the very small inside ring, whizzing his way around here at the moment, and trying to get back up there. He needs points on the Kingman's competition. This is Garcia Kester, and are they going to work together? The rider here from the Lampre Daikin team will be more interested in staying out there to try and help Casagrande when Casagrande comes up. So he hasn't been fired out there, I think, to win the stage today. He's just been sent out there to keep an eye on things. As our cameras go back to these 2 riders, and behind the pink and the blue, Casagrande is the next man who at least has his mate up here in front, because Belly is an extremely good climber and could well be somebody. He's always been there or thereabouts, Belly, and somebody, except the time when he won that nice Rover car in the Kellogg's Pro Tour many years ago. He's always been just getting a few awards here, there and everywhere, but he's got a quality. And if you're looking back, here's his team there, and that is Casagrande, 111 on your screen, that he's up the front to provide a stepping stone, a bit of help for Casagrande to come up. There's one of our motorcycle cameramen, complete with the chap with the standard camera, takes a picture. You saw that on your screens, and you've heard me rammeting on about motorcycle, but today, because it's so tough at the end, when you get there, I'll be deep involved in the tactics here, but just to set the scene, when they go to the top end, down the other side, that there's only 1 team car allowed to follow the race. Normally you have 2 team cars. Only 1 team car will follow the race when we go over the top of here and down the other side. They'll also have about half a dozen motorcycles with the spares on them for riders that puncture. The camper vans, which are the bane of our lives when we're travelling up and down the courses, because to go ahead of the big tours and to find that in front of you, as far as the eye can see, are these camper vans trudging their way through to get themselves positioned way before the finish and get the best spot, and then you can't get round them and round the bends and up the mountain, down the mountain. Well, the camper vans have been stopped going up for some of the last 2 days, so if you want to go and see the finish, you've got to go up by cable car, and that also is being used by many of the officials. The whole operation are coming in later on, and some of the journalists too, that had to use the camper vans, cable cars, and to get us all up there, or get everybody up there, they had to use various ingenious ways, because once it's all over and done with, it's just a narrow little grotty road, as you'll see later on, that you can imagine the whole lot trying to come down. So what they're going to do with the riders is put them also in the cable cars and send them down the other side. In fact, to this point here, I think it is, where the cable cars come down and the riders then come out and into their vehicles, because this race now curls round where we are here and takes a hook around. It goes round to the right hand side, and the actual finish is up the top on the right hand side. So they're going to come through here, curl the right way round, and then come back down in these big cable cars to where the vehicles will be there. The big trucks to put them in. There we are. This is what's left of the chase group. Belly, Garcia Kester, but it looks like the rest will be catching them very shortly. And they're just behind, still sitting in, looking for a few points in the Kingdom House competition, is Freddie Gonzalez in the green jersey. And once it's over the top of this one, going into the stage today, you get this glorious view and up there in the distance, right up there, they're going to be. And today, looking across from the finishing area, the air is clear, the view is magnificent, and this is, when you see it later on, is a fantastic place, and we're going to see it from helicopters. And by the way, Simone, not on this little bit here now, but Simone, when we finally get to the climb, when he first came out to look at the climb, he hired a helicopter. This is true, or the team gave him a helicopter, and he saw it from the helicopter to get a feeling of the gradient and the whole flavour of the mountains round about him. And then the second time he came, he rode his bike up, and everybody's been up on their bikes have said this is a horrendous climb, as going over the final, or the last but one, the penultimate climb of the day, is Bruzagun has been out there with that breakaway group almost since the start today, and there he goes over the top of the second category climb, and behind him Freddy Gonzalez will be looking for a few points in the points competition. There are 5, 3 and 1 points here, and Freddy has to come past these two guys in front of him. The fellow in the Calme team will just try to do what he can to shut him out, because he's also after a few points in this competition. So Bell is doing the work. Here goes Freddy Gonzalez on the right hand side, and that's it. The rest of them look, they say, oh heck. Well, there he goes. He looks back, and Freddy, who got 6 points on the climb of the Thuesa after 56 kilometres from the finish, after 129 kilometres, comes over the top now to take another point, 3 points. That gives him 9 points today in the King Mountains competition. Freddy Gonzalez certainly will keep that green jersey, because adding the 9 to his points this morning, where he had 35, that makes him 44, and Zabala 26, Gonzalez 16. Even if Garzelli 16. Even if Garzelli wins the final climb, there's 15 points for the man that gets the stage victory today in the King Mountains competition, and Garzelli could get that. But if he got those 15 points, Garzelli this morning had 16, which makes him 31. So doubt about it that the green jersey we know now will still stay on the shoulders of that diminished climber from the Columbia Sellitalia squad, Freddy Gonzalez. Round of applause. You have to have a sense of humour. Of course, these riders who decide what they're going for, and Freddy, little diminutive chap there, has been popping up at all these climbs, and good luck to him. His team, the Columbia Sellitalia team, have set their eyes on it, and that looks like he's going to put enough points in the bag to keep it for, well, at least another 2 days, and perhaps even 3, or even 4, even to the end. We shall see. Isn't this nice? I get letters, particularly for those of you who are stuck at home and can't get out or can't travel the world, and say how much they love the coverage of the big tours, the smaller tours too as well, and the scenery through which these bike riders race on their bicycles. And this is magnificent today, and at the top of this climb, I hope the cameras go around and pick up what you've just seen in the distance, those mountain tops with the snow on the top still hanging about. The air is so clear and crisp, and thank goodness the sun is shining, and in the little pockets away from where the wind is blowing, it's a time to get a suntan too as well. So that's it, confirming that Freddy Gonzalez got himself those 3 points. Agassi Kester back there trying to help out his teammate who's been going for it, Zabala, but that's in there. He is, little Freddy Gonzalez. The Colombians over the years have produced some of the most magnificent climbers, and there was that amazing book about Colombian cycling some years ago from Mark Randell, and I do recommend it, if you can see a copy of it somewhere, to get it and buy it and read about it, about how Colombian cycling went on. We often only look at the riders here. By the way, see the pinky thing there, right? That's the profile. Actually, it's north to south, and it should be the other way around. But you probably saw at the bottom there that it's like, I suppose, when you go and have an ECG with your heart monitor down, there are little blips in there. By the way, one said to me, I've got a blip in my P wave to do with the heart monitor. Anyway, enough of that. But that little graph you saw there on that pink piece of card shows that lying ahead of these riders is this thumping great climb at the Monte Zoncolan. Gorgeous day on the 12th stage of the Tour of Italy, going from San Dono di Piave into the Monte Zoncolan, which is a new finish, never been used before. We're seeing history being made as far as coverage on Eurosport is concerned of this great Tour of Italy in the 86th version of it. Out in Belgium, I understand that results of the stage there, but you don't need me to describe what Mr. Bell is saying here, do you? I think he's saying yes, you. Anyway, Belli and Garcia Cuesta and young Freddie Gonzalez here are chasing after. Oops, I don't think he's having a happy ride at the moment, Belli, and we're going back down. That was the original group that is beginning to form now and reform, and we looked then at what happened in the gap, because 15 kilometres to go. We picked up there for you the things that happened whilst we had the advertising break, and obviously Belli was not very happy with the way things are going. Up in front then, still here at the best part, by the way, descending. By the way, he's looking at the little plug in his ear. He's not listening to his Walkman, by the way, to some music. Band on the Run, or I don't know, Pink Floyd, or whatever the case may be. He's actually listening to his team manager, who's sent him out there to bury him in this stage today, because as he started this morning, Brueggen, it's a very interesting piece of tactical move then by the team manager to send him down the road. The group behind him may well catch back with him, but it's put the panic buttons being hit by the main group behind, because Brueggen coming into the stage today was there at 8 minutes and 5 seconds. You may say, so what? But this climb in front of us, there can be so much time gained or lost. There's a bit of a chat going on between the Italia Columbia team. Is he driving or talking? Everything go. If you ever get a chance, by the way, and I'm now asking the most extraordinary thing, ever get a chance to travel in a team car in a major race like this one, as I've had the good fortune to do so, it's an unbelievable experience. And you imagine when they do it day after day, it's a whole new experience. And certainly here, Freddie Gonzalez getting some encouragement from his team manager. Looking down to just confirm to you as we go into this very critical stage 12 of the Tour of Italy. Welcome those who just switched on late or recorded and zapped forward as inside 15 k's to go. The situation this morning was Simoni 2 seconds ahead of Garzelli, Tonkov back 152. We're picking out here not the general classification, but those riders who could probably cause a few problems today to the pink jersey battle between Simoni and Garzelli. And this sort of climb would suit Pantani back in 14th spot at 4:53, and back even further is Perez Cupio at 12 minutes and 8. Perez, Cupio and probably Pantani might be able to win the stage today, but you see there how Frigo back in 21st spot at 7 minutes 45 has his team have put the cat amongst the pigeons by putting out this chap here on the left hand side of your screen. Brueggen rides for the same team, Fassa Bartolo, and although he was 8 minutes and 5 seconds down, it meant that the team from Simoni has to do a lot of chasing. As we're looking back again at Belli, who was not very happy with the way in which I think it was Freddie Gonzalez and he's having the bags on there, but that I think will disturb the whole rhythm of the race today. But it just shows that these guys, when they're on the bikes, they often have a few abrasive words to say. As you look at the colour now of the riders behind, we saw the red jersey of Saika, we saw the blue and pinky colours of the Lampre Daikin team for that tremendous strong man over many years now, Casagrande. Can he come good today? Not signed when our cameras went back there to people like Marco Pantani in the yellow jersey, but a good move today. Now you can see here that he's taken his crash hat off. There's a great hoo-ha going about crash hats next week, which I'll come to in just a moment. Can I just explain then, as you've seen this chap riding without his hat on, and if you haven't caught up with the regulations, the UCI have agreed that when the race finishes at the top, this is a pro race, and top race of the pro elite calendar, if you come up here, as you see, on a race which finishes at the top and doesn't go down the other side, then once you go through the point where the King of the Mountains competition and the final climb goes to the results of the stage, and that on this particular occasion is some 13 kilometers from the top, and he's now on this final climb, the riders are allowed to take off their crash hats, because the intense heat which is generated under their hats is such that many of them want to take their hats off, and the UCI have agreed that providing they're not going down the other side, they can take their hats off. Here they go. Look, the hats are going left, right and centre. And the team manager, look, the team cars are here, and the the club, the word's getting out now. You're not searching in the gutter for a bidon, a bottle has been thrown away, or a musette. You find yourself a crash hat, as Garzelli there, without crash hat, with the ball head in the yellowish coloured jersey. Starts to move after Simoni, and the crash hats are flying left, right and centre. The UCI never realised, I think, when they made this regulation, that unless you've got somebody running up and down here, that I'm sure that one or two of the spectators who now begin to find out about this, my goodness, it'll progressively get worse. There'll be a load of people on the side of the road fighting for crash hats and hiding them in their back pocket, well, not back pocket, in their saddlebags and so on. No, they don't have saddlebags in Europe, do they? But whatever they're going to do, there's a load of people, and normally they go to the top of the climb. I think we're going to get a big gaggle of people at the bottom waiting for a free crash hat to fly through the sky. Bear in mind that crash hats are very expensive, and it's not only the fact that you've got one that you may not have yourself, but also if you've got one, you said, that's Pantani's crash hat, completely. Here goes another one. In fact, the team cars come up. And that what will happen, because you can't always bring all the team cars up to pick up all the crash hats. And unlike bottles, where the lads can put, I don't know, 6 or 8 bottles in their back pockets and on their shoulders, and they put them in their feeding bottle cages down there. Apart from the fact you can carry many bottles forward, when you take your crash hat off, like Belly's done here, you've nowhere really to put it. You can't put it on the handlebars over the top, because if you do and it bounces off and drops down and you ride over the thing or get stuck in your chainring, so it's become a very complicated issue as to what to do with the crash hat. I mean, the law's been changed only the first week in May, as the weekend before this race started, and it's bringing out now a whole new ball game as regards what do you do with your crash hat. And I don't want any rude answers, please, by email or by postcard to Eurosport at 84 Theobald's Road in London here. Right, back to the race then, as the man who was demonstrating recently didn't like the little activities going on in the group that he was with. Belly, I think he's going to drift off back. His job here, by the way, as up the front, then Brusgen's still pressing on towards the top to try and win the stage and cause enormous drama behind, that I suspect now Belly will be told to just ease back a little bit and then wait for Casagrande to come up and then tow him for a little bit after that. Interesting also, he looked like he got an almost standard mech on the back there. This gear mechanism looked like a standard one, rather than these big gears that some of the riders are going, small front gears and big sprockets at the back, like 27, 28, or even 30 in some cases. When you go up towards 27, 28, 30, you need often a big wraparound device. But anyway, that's it. There goes the crash hat. Play football with it. It's settling down, and do stay with us, because my goodness, it looks like the whole thing can erupt any moment now. Good look at the gears whizzing round here, as many of them have been changing down to something on the inside ring. They normally ride about a 39, many of them stay with a 39, but they've gone to a 28 at the back on this final climb, as Brusgen is out the front still trying to hang on, as the helmets now coming into, that's one in towards the one the organisers climb, and off come the helmets left, right. This is something I don't think the UCI ever thought about when they said yes, you can take them off. It's, what the heck do you do with them? I suppose you need somebody coming along with a great big net to catch the helmets, or they have an area like when you go through a feed zone, which is called the helmet zone, and somebody can collect. We've never thought this before, have we? Suggestions on a piece of paper, please, to the UCI in Switzerland, because suddenly you're going to get 100 and, I don't know how many riders got there, 160 odd riders trying to get rid of the helmets. Look here, one of the riders right up with Garzelli can't get his hat out of the way, and you can't miss a beat at this part of the climb. If you suddenly drop back about 5 or 6 places, you work your way back up again, and you're still stuck with your crash hat. You lob it over into the hedge, and then somebody finds it later on. But I think they've now realised, yes, we can take the crash hats off, or sorry, they can take the crash hats off, but we must find out what we do with them at a particular point. Right. Back to the race now, as one by one the riders come back from that early break, and that looks, I think, is that Gonzalez? They've been drifting back now, and that's Tonkov, I think. hang on in. And there on the left-hand side, Perez, just to put you in the picture, with 15 seconds back to Bruzigin, take him out the frame, and let's go through what can happen now running up towards the top of this climb. With Bruzigin hanging on after his long break, he calls the chase group from Seiko to work very hard indeed, and they've been shelled out now, and the pink jersey is on his own. Closely marking him on his left, our right, with the bald head is Garzelli. Just in the pink jersey ahead of them, sorry, in the orange jersey ahead of them was Perez Cupio. As Bruzigin still pressing on here towards the top of this climb, as you see with 10 kilometers to go, it gets worse and worse and worse. In fact, the road virtually becomes, it was at one time just no longer an asphalted road, it just went straight into the gravel as Belly tries to come back. The other situation is that Bruzigin starting out this morning over 8 minutes down has enlivened the day. Belly has also gone up there to set a platform for his teammate Casagrande, who you can just see back there lying in third spot, the blue jersey with the pink upon it. In the orange jersey, Tonkov pedalling away. Reminding you that Simone this morning, as you see the gaps coming on the screen here now, was 2 seconds ahead of Garzelli on general classification. Andrea No from the Lazio team in the red, white and blue. There he is there. You can see him on your screen, just following the wheels at the moment. Andrea No looking very comfortable indeed at the moment. Andrea No this morning was at 56 seconds. Pelazzotti was at 1 minute and 38 seconds. Tonkov at 1:52. Popovic at 1:58. Rumšas at 2:06 and Toshnig at 2:28. Casagrande at 3:23. 10k's to go then in the top 10. Then Velo completed that at 4 minutes and 1 second. So those riders we're looking at there, it's going to be difficult to get back at this quality of competition at the sort of 3, 4, 5 minutes, as Belly still presses on here up toward the top of this climb. Another battle's being fought out behind him, and that battle really will rage between Simone and Garzelli. Looking back down there, you can see number 8, that's Noe, just on the right hand side of your screen, and further back, drifting off the pace at the moment, he's missed the beat here somehow. That's Figueras from the Panaria team, and I think he's just towing up Tonkov, who also seems to miss the beat. On these very low gears, this phenomenal climb, it doesn't look bad at the moment, but ahead of them the nasty bits start to come in those last few kilometers as they're pulling back the riders from the early breakaway group. There's an 18%er, then another one, then a 22%er, and really the whole thing erupts. It sort of levels off a bit after about 7 kilometers. They're going through now towards those last few kilometers, but once we get to a point with the final 5 kilometers to go, that's when it gets very nasty indeed. Belly looking good. Perez on the right there for the Panaria team in the orange. Hanging on there just behind them. There's a load of riders just waiting for somebody to crack. Garzelli in the yellow and the black, twice winner of the Tour. I'm sorry, once winner of the Tour of Italy. Simone also won the Tour of Italy. The two riders, both of them got disqualified for various reasons last year. They're going to settle it today. I'm sure this is going to set the scene for the next few days. One by one, the riders that were out there with that leading group have been drifting back in towards the main pack. Hanging on Belly. There he is. But surely he has things to do for his rest of his team, the Lampre-Daikin team. Casagrande, the man they thought would do so well. Rumšas, man who finished third in the Tour of France last year is still in there at the moment, and now one by one the riders here, Frigo, are beginning to struggle. Frigo, the man that was tipped to be possibly up there on the podium in Milan, is having another bad day in the office. He really has dropped out of the frame. He's had a couple of bad days. He lined this morning 21st on general classification at 7 minutes and 45 seconds. He's surely out of the frame for a place in the top 3 at the finish in Milan on Sunday week. That's quite a big bunch still, something like about 30 riders hanging on here to try and keep up the pressure. There's 160 riders start the stage today. Bradley Wiggins back in 150 spot, looking after the interests of his teammates, looking for a chance to go somewhere as this race settles down. After today, I think we'll find a few lone breakers going away. The British then have had Julian win yesterday, finishing 19th spot on that wet finish running in towards it. But we're seeing a different race under our very views now, because here will, I think, settle the shape of the race so that as we've now got to about 9 minutes to go, that seemed a bit different. Anyway, that's on the headphones, that people like Bradley Wiggins and then Julian Wynne riding for the Factor team, who's done so well, finishing that 20 spots yesterday, riding this morning at 122nd overall at 1 minute and 1 second. And bad luck to Britain's Charlie Vegalis too, now back 26 minutes and 54 seconds. Charlie was looking forward to the mountain. He had a couple of crashes and that didn't do him any good at all. And by the way, there you can see on your screen a bit flick about the tennis. I'm sorry that the tennis from Paris will be probably a bit delayed. We may overrun here because they came into a rather strong headwind today, and thank goodness the weather was not bad. As we pick out Belly here, who's just trying to close that gap. As you look back though, I think he's more interested in looking after his teammates, who may be coming up to him now and looking for some extra help too. But the activity of Bruzagin and Belly has certainly made the Psycho team trace, but he's on a lovely low twiddling gear here. Bruzagin is looking extremely good at the moment. Who would have thought the Fassa Bertola would have put him out there? We've just seen further back down there how Frigo, his teammate, was having a really bad day. Pelazzotti here, in like the big A on his back, riding for Alessio, is just hanging on there in that little group, and he's losing ground too as well. Pelazzotti this morning, perhaps the blue-eyed boy of, well, I suppose, rather smart Barnett of cycle racing in Italy. This morning was 4th at 1 minute and 38 seconds. He's losing ground now on this group here, which still contains Garcelli, second back there in the pink jersey. Simoni, still the overall leader in the race. This, as far as Bruzagin's concerned, has got to be one of the great days that he's ever put up, I think. He was sent out to do a job. He's done it magnificently. But the big players in this stage 12 of the Tour of Italy, from Sandona di Piave to the Monte Zoncolon, that breakaway group we had earlier on, very much this man driving it forward, never got much more than about, what, 5 minutes maximum over the rest of the field. But that was dangerous as far as the pink jersey was concerned, because he'd start out 8 minutes and 5 seconds down. And Belly here coming through, well, he was this morning in 12th spot at 4 minutes and 23 seconds. He went with that early break, and that caused enormous consternation back in the camp here, which meant that the Psycho team had to do a lot of work. And now the pink jersey is on his own, because his team have begun to peel off the back, and then right behind him is Garcelli, 141, who is now looking to pull back those 2 vital seconds. Pelazzotti, I think, might have just got back in there. If I've been disrespectful to the fact he got drifted off there, do bear with me, because it's not always easy to pick out the riders on your screen. Gonchar for the Gennady Kolpak team, that's it's Charlie Vegalis' team. He's done rather well, and Charlie Vegalis this morning was having a 30 by 31 gear on his bike to tackle this climb, because he was just going to roll up there, leaving Gonchar, who normally pushes enormous big gears, a great world time trial champion. Gonchar then for the team of Dinardi Kolpak at number 41 is still with this group at the moment. And twitting away here in the pink jersey is Simoni. His lowest gear is 39, that's the inside ring, and 28, which is on the back sprocket, and he has a spare bike on the following car with a triple change head on to suit himself. Casagrande, who rides for the same team, Lampre Daikon riding on a 30 inside ring and a 27 back. Perez, who begins to show it there too in the orange jersey, riding with a 39 inside ring and a 27 at the back. There he is, just wedged in between the two contenders for the crown, and Perez today might catch him napping. He's more interested in the stage victory than these two are interested in the overall classification. Pantani starts to move forward too as well. Pantani's looking good, and Pantani is one of those loose cannons, and towards the end, when we've got these nasty bits towards the end, we've got in those last 3 kilometers, 2 pieces of 18%, 1 piece of 22%. It's virtually get off and walk. It lies ahead of them. Belly hanging on. That's the little route going round there, the big mountain distance, and we can see the pink jersey and the leaders up in front as we go to the top of this climb. Never used before, and it was found and decided to be used, and there's been many people out to have a look at it, and they're staggered because there are 11 hairpins in the 10 kilometers. We've just been through the big parking lot at the local ski station, and after it starts to get worse as we go up and up and up, and certainly the small rings are going to come in as they tackle this last part of the course. Well, he went to an early breakaway, a good move, I think, as far as the F de Jour rider Sandy Cassar was concerned. He went out with an early breakaway, but he suffered. And here back Frigo is in this little group too as well. And he's got back. Frigo dropped off the frame, and he's now got back into the group. As Garzelli starts to put the pressure on here, Casagrande is there likewise, and one by one riders dropping off. Frigo looked very rough a bit further back, but he seems to have regained the group. And by rights too, that Garzelli with his teammate here from the Vini Calderaro Cinebac team have to put the pressure on. There he is now, going through on your screen, Garzelli. If you're looking to find out the riders going through here, Garzelli wears 185 on his bike. There in the pink jersey, Simoni. And Pantani poised behind. Look at Pantani just behind in that blue jersey, yellow jersey with the blue stripes. Here he is now. That's a great picture of this great grand champion Pantani, who's had a few problems in recent years, who's still got to try to stay with the best at the moment. That's a super picture, and I know many people back in Great Britain just have a great admiration for Pantani, and he's still here now after all the problems he's been through. Look at him now alongside the pink jersey. He's worn that in the past. He's won this race. He got eliminated in 1999 when they found that his red blood corpuscle count was over the 50% limit, and they chucked him off the race, and he said, "I'm not guilty." And also remember the time when he had that enormous crash, Pantani, and he broke both legs, and to get back into fitness he would be swimming in a pool with the strapping on his legs and the way in which they bound his legs together, and then he would have plastic over the outside so he could swim to keep his muscles going. And he's come back. He doesn't need to ride a bike. He's got so much money not stuffed away in the bank, but he's here with this little lot now. Fantastic. Belly, danger man really still out there. 12th this morning, 4 minutes 23 seconds down. Can he hang on? Well, the way the bunch of bikes are coming through here, it says to me that the gap's coming down. His legs look like going a bit lead. What's going through the minds of these riders here? For Belly, it is, I'll say, last chance saloon as far as he's concerned, because he knows that they're coming at him and the whole race now, we have either A, a man who wins the stage, but B, who's going to take that jersey. At the end of it all, we still have those time bonuses, 20 seconds for the first man across the line, then 12, and then 8 after that. So the time bonuses could also make a difference, as still the pink jersey, Simoni, tracks Garzelli and his teammate in front. To have that strength left with 60 minutes to go to push what is quite a biggish gear, well, I say big, but he's not twiddling, and Belly is just hoping he's got some more strength to push it a bit further. We get a bit of a, I'll say, flattening off, but it's not that bad with 4 kilometres to go. 46 seconds now as Belly has done the damage with the early pace setup. Bruzhnin dropping out the frame, and as I get to this pit here, this is getting towards a point where it ain't that bad, but believe you me, those last 3Ks are horrific. Can't always pick up and expose to you the gradients, and we're coming in towards the back end of this stage now, stage 12 of the Tour of Italy, when the early breakaways have now been fading away. Belly's still out there at the moment, and one or two chaps who've tried to win the stage today, well, I think will have failed, but magnificently, as just leading there you saw on your screen, because thank goodness our man pressing the button is giving the accolade to those who are working hard for the man Garzelli, who would try and get the stage today and get himself into the pink jersey, but hanging on for grim death. Again, the other thing is too that those few seconds bonus, apart from the glory of winning for the first time on this jumping great climb, it would help his teammate too, because the riders from the Lamprey-Daikin team, as one by one they rather just blow a complete gasket, want to pull something out of the bag in this race. Casagrande is their overall leader, and Belly then is now trying hard at the front. Rumschass, a man who finished third in the Tour of France, is in there too as well. Serrada is off the back, the special sprinter for the Lamprey-Daikin team. That's the same team as Britain's Max Yandri, who unfortunately couldn't ride this year because of his sickness and illness. So Max, watching this back in Italy, no doubt you're watching the Italian version of Eurosport. If you listen to English, and I'm sure that all the English supporters will wish you a speedy recovery and want to see you back in action as soon as we can do. There we are going, picking up and down in that breakaway group, or so chase group, Andre Noe. Noe this morning has been tipped by a number of people as being the dark horse. Andre Noe at 56 seconds on the general classification is the man I think to be reckoned with. To a large extent on a climb like this, the wind's been very variable because they've riders have gone this way and that way with 5 kilometres to go. It's the psychological benefit of having a teammate in front of you. The draft you get out the wheel is not very much, but it at least gives you an aim to look at, and you just follow, and then you know he'll help you if anything goes wrong. But after a while, it'll be the top guys in this race. We're down to no more than about 10 or 12 of them, and they're going to sort it out today with Belly having now seen off all the early breakaway riders, still pressing on, and his teammate is just wedged in between these two riders. If you see on the left hand side Vladimir Belly, and if the camera splits between Garzelli's teammate here in the yellow, you'll find Casagrande just behind. There he is on the left hand side, Casagrande riding his 30 by 27. He may not be quite down on that one yet. I think they're on the last but one of their, they go into 24 then 27, and I think they're not all on the gravel gear yet. That's yet to come. He's hanging on amazingly, having gone past Bruzhnin, having sorted out the people. They were all in that early group. We had a little load of chaps who went away, who got maybe about 4 minutes lead on the main field, but is that just to win the stage, or is that just to draw the effort of Simoni Garzelli so that Casagrande can move up? Casagrande, his teammate this morning going into the stage, was riding 9th at 3 minutes and 23 seconds. Rumsas lying in 7th spot at 2 minutes and 6. I'm looking to see where Rumsas has got to. I think that's just him, just behind. Yes, there he is, in the pink, in the blue. Christy, I'm sorry we didn't be able to speak to you early on this morning, and honestly, with the thing beginning to blow apart before our very eyes right now, we may not have much time to talk in detail. But Christy, you, I think, spent last night with Pantani, excuse the expression. What about his chances today?
Well, actually, I did speak with him yesterday specifically about that, and his objective, I believe, is another stage in the mountains, possibly in the 3rd week, because he said he's getting stronger every day. But he really feels that this day will race for the overall, and then it's going to be a matter of the overall finish. But he's really looking at it stage win and as his objective. So today I would say no, it's not going to be Pantani's day. But strangely enough, I'm actually standing here on the last climb with his father.
You're staying with Pantani's father. That's fascinating.
Yes.
When you say last climb, how far are you up there? Because having to travel up on these cable cars, or are you walking?
I'm walking. I walked from the 4 kilometer to go part, and I'm about 2 kilometers or 1.5 kilometers from the top, and I'm at the steepest point. So it's an unbelievable climb. But I'll tell you what, the first climb of the day was even more of a cracker in terms of steepness, and the fact that they arrived at the bottom at 42 k's an hour was just amazing. But everybody's nervous about this final 3 kilometers on this climb, and some of the gear ratios, I don't know if you are aware, the climbers are set up with a 39-29 ratio, but the sprinters are set up with a 39-32 ratio. So that just gives you an idea of the intrepidation in the peloton.
Yeah, I caught up with some of it from Graham Jones, very helpful on these things. And of course, I think you missed out on the trick, by the way. It's a thing called the cable car to get up there. So I'm sorry if you're still trudging away, but how will you get your picture? We won't see you on the finishing line, will we? You've got to take your picture, what, with 2 k's or 1 k to go?
Yep, I'll take the picture with about 1,500 meters left, because I think by that point Simone will have made his move. And I don't know, Belly's also climbing really well, and he's a personal favorite of mine, and I know he had a fantastic day in the mountains 2 years ago at the Tour at Luzard-Ardennes, where he came second. So I know he can handle the big climbs, and that was the hardest stage of that tour, and this, I believe, was the hardest stage of this one. So it could be his day, and I spoke to him this morning, and he said he's got good legs, there's no question.
Well, you may not know what we can see, because we've got all these television cameras you see, and you're not inside of the big screen at the finish. And he's 20 seconds in the lead at the moment, Belly. He was with that breakaway group earlier on. You may not have caught up with it on your nice. You're not wearing your high heels, I hope, Christy. But he's been out there. He's trying very hard, and he's 24 seconds ahead now. So get your camera ready, and let's hope he comes to you, and you can take a picture of him, because he's still there. But I think somehow he's going to be caught by this group behind, which contains all the top favourites.
Well, I believe that Simone's going to really try to put some time into Garzelli today, and that this will be the day that decides the overall winner. But then the next 10 spots, or actually the next 9 spots, are pretty much going to be what next week is all about. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting day. I'd love to see them just forget about Belly and let him stay out the front, but we'll have to see how it goes.
Well, you get your camera ready. They're coming at you rather quickly now. We're getting towards that nasty little bit at the end, and I think you should have taken the cable car, which is certainly the easiest way to the top. But Christy, thanks for your comments today. Anything others you'd like to add on air before we go out and concentrate on this race? In fact, it's now got 1:24 as a gap back to Tonkov from Belly. I don't know why they put that on our screens, but anyway, he's still just hanging on there. Any other little comment, Christy?
Yeah, I think the Panaria team has been doing it hard on this tour with their loss today as well. Another rider out of the race, and losing Lancaster too, and Buongiorno. It's been really hard for them. And in dramatic contrast to that is the result of the Faxa team, which they've just been stomping. And I talked to Julian again this morning, Julian Wynn, and he said he was actually enjoying the rain yesterday and enjoying that last bit. And both he and Bernard Eisel were mentioning that it was absolutely beautiful to see Robbie take that first corner in front, and that his win had no bearing on that accident whatsoever.
Thanks for that then, Chris. The race is now erupting for our very eyes. Simone's gone to the front, and he's towing up, I think, Casgrande behind him, and also there we can see Garzelli. You can't see this because you're not in your normal place at the finishing line. You're right about Julian Wynn. He was out there today. Of course, coming from South Wales, I mean, you come from sunny part of the world like Australia, although you're an American. You don't know what really rain is like, I suppose, but I think Wynn was probably in his element. Thanks for your comments too, Christy, as Pantani is having a bit of difficulty hanging on at the moment. Get your camera ready. They're coming toward you. Thanks for your comments today, Christy. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks very much, David. Bye.
Well, there we are, Christy Anderson on the course, so she's waiting for Belly. Like all of us, we sometimes have favourites, and I think she's going to miss out the picture here because Belly's now being caught as Simone puts the pressure on behind Casagrande, comes past his teammate. Has Belly got enough to help him? Belly has suddenly blown out, his gasket's gone, and he's trying to come back to his teammate, but there's no way about that at all. Garcelli has to close the gap down, and right now this is the critical part of the race as Belly fades from the scene, trying to get the stage victory today. It's not going to happen, and back there too we can see following on as best he can do is Pantani, but I think he too will have difficulty winning the stage today. The battle at the front with Simone and Casagrande. Well, Casagrande a bit off the list when it comes to the overall classification. Garcelli was the man that Simone was going for because he started this morning 2 seconds ahead of him. Andre Noe was back there at 56 seconds. Pelazzotti 138, Tonkov 156, Popovic 158, Rumsas 206, Toshnik, Casagrande this morning at 323. He's trying to hang on. Pantani here, well, he's a bit off the frame in the general classification at 453 in 14th spot, but provided he keeps this going, and look at the crowd round about him. If anybody has the Tifosi right behind him, in fact there are two of them. One is Cipollini, no doubt about it. Sorry he had that problem yesterday and couldn't start today. He's entertained us in the flat stage. The other man is Pantani, who the crowd, the Tifosi, the Italians are so in love with their sport. Their enthusiasm is amazing, whether it's cycle racing, and my goodness, you watch on Formula One when Schumacher and his Ferrari is doing the duty, how they come out with the flags, and the Italians love their sport, and right now they're dominating this race too. It is their race after all anyway, and they're watching Simone trying down the road to really rip the legs off Garcelli, who's there on your screen. There he is on your screen right now too as well. He's caught up with Casagrande. Garcelli this morning 2 seconds down general classification. Casagrande off the pace a bit at 323. This is the day when Simone can really take charge of the race, but can he dominate it and set the scene for the future as we get to the very, very nasty part? It gets worse, by the way, from here on in. Judgment is all that matters, and this is a part of the course that Simone's been. He went up in a helicopter to have a look at it. He went on his bike to ride it. As Pantani is coming back. The grand champion himself is now getting in the fray for a stage victory. He's 4 minutes and 53 seconds down general classification, and he's been through an enormous number of personal problems, and he's still in there fighting. This is the pit I told you about. It gets very nasty indeed, and you can almost have to get up and walk as the cars come past as best they can do. See how steep it is here. They're on the lowest of the low gears. 18%, 18%, 22% as they twist and turn in these final few kilometres. Has Pantani blown? Has Garcelli blown? Has Simone gone too soon? They've resurfaced the road here, which was just nothing more than the track for this race to come up. We're reliving some of the star days of the old Tour of Italy when Bartali and Coppi would go out there, and the predecessors for them, the Binders of this world, would ride over the big mountains. These people have had to walk up or come by cable car to the top to soak up the atmosphere of this, the 86th Tour of Italy, and the Italians are giving the Italian public a great show. It's not just showmen, these are riders on their bikes. Over the years, they've got the skill and experience to ride the mountains, and this is where it all happens. The one thing about the Tour of Italy which I like is that as we go further on the race, we started down there just in the heel of Italy. We went across into the toe of Italy, up to Sicily, moving our way north and north, and then the big mountains come. And often it's the last day, or the last but one day, or last but 3 days when this race changes. And today, although we've got some day to go, it's 12 days now. It may not change the thing totally, but it's setting the scene as Garzelli in the front and Pantani. Both those two were teammates. Garzelli joined the Mercatone Uno team. He's on the front. He's got like a doppelganger haircut. And those two are great teammates. And now they're there together. And reality, though, as far as Garzelli is concerned, is keeping close to this man for the pink jersey, and for Pantani to be concerned on the right-hand side, who's been out of the frame, off his bike. He's starting to come, and this is great cycling to see Pantani coming up here. Is he going to help his teammates from years gone by, Garzelli, or is he going to try and get up there and get up to Simone and take the stage? As back here, Casagrande is struggling, trying hard. The noise, you can hear it on your screen. I'll shut up, you just turn your sound up. Listen to this. And the concentration of the man today on your screens now. Simone, just those 2 vital seconds lead over Garzelli. He has to punch a bigger hole into Garzelli. Now is Pantani towing Garzelli now? He looks back over his shoulder. Is he helping his ex-teammate? He looks back, or does he want help? I'm sure the press, when they write about this, and goodness knows we've still got a long way to go up this nasty, twisted little ribbon of road, which just goes like you're climbing up. With 1 kilometre to go, you've still got your upper wall, where you can almost climb off, put the bike in. There's no way the television can give you the impression here of the magnitude of the steepness of the course. They've come over the top here, but they've just now going in this final kilometre. It still drags on and on and on. I think no chance now, with 22 seconds, that Simone will be caught by either of these two chasers. This is where I think he stamped his authority on the tour, but do bear in mind, we're only on stage 12 of this race. We've still got to go right the way through to Milan onto stage 21. Are these two going to ride him, or are they going to battle it towards the finish? Back there, Poviev from the Lambo Credit Colnago team is trying to stay with Casagrande. That is insignificant. I'm not sure. Casagrande, I think, is coming back pretty quickly now, as we will watch this final kilometre played out live on Eurosport this afternoon. And off he goes, out the saddle, Pantani on his little twiddling gear, and Garzelli responds, and it looks like Simone is slowing down on that final climb. Is he going to lose ground? Has he suddenly gone, and Pantani's after him in the final kilometre? This is the difficult part. Pantani's twiddling his low gear, and Simone looks like his legs are slowed down. Every cyclist knows you can go into the wall and suddenly bang, the strength's gone, the bonk hits you, and you're losing it. Is Simone now blown? Can Pantani get him? The steepness of this climb is unbelievable. He's coming back slowly, but he's on this very, very low gear at the moment. Simone riding up here on a 39 by 28. Pantani and Garzelli swapping places. Poviev coming up here as Casagrande fights his way back to. It's Garzelli's turn. Pantani had a go, but still up there, up this wall, up this tarmac wall, Simone breathing in the oxygen as best he can do. Because we're going up this thumping great climb and getting toward the top of this climb then. He will really, at 1,730 metres, be finding the air a bit on the thin side. The sun's been beating down on the road as the spectators who've come up by foot. They could not drive their cars. They came on the cable cars to get here. They came up on foot. They came on their bikes. And they are watching an epic race in this, the 86th Tour of Italy. Can you believe it? You could hardly walk up this climb. Look at them. If there's a law which said you should not be, I don't know, abrasive to cyclists, you should not put them through hell and high water, then right now the organiser of this race will be slapped into court. But we've seen a great epic performance, and this man has survived that final wall, and Simone is going to make it. He's over the worst part. The confetti flies. This crowd here have got a long way to go down into their homes tonight. The riders will be taken down in the cable cars back to their hotels. Then all know today when they get there they've been through an epic day racing, and thank goodness the sun was shining. A gorgeous day for the man in the pink. Simone now, for all the problems he had last year when they found problems with his drug test, and they found in the end it was just one of those things that should not have happened, and now he's just shown that I'm the grand champion. I should have been in pink then, I'm in pink now. But the man who tried to get that pink jersey coming up now to catch him has got no chance at the moment. It's going to be a bit of a gap opening up here. They started 2 seconds apart this morning, but Garzelli coming into second spot, and I'm wondering we're now seeing Pantani coming back. Pantani starting the day not to go, I think, to take over the jersey, but he's done a tremendous job today, and whether he rode like he rode for Garzelli we will never know, but those two have been friends in the years gone by. But certainly as Garzelli comes in here losing some 30-odd seconds and also getting 20 seconds bonus to Simone, as Pantani looks back over his head. He was just outside what we call the podium of the top 3 places, and then certainly 20 seconds bonus to Simone, 12 seconds for Garzelli, and then 8 seconds back for the 3rd place too as well. And shuffling the pack later on, there still, by the way, will not be, I think, enough gap between those top riders to say it's done and dusted and that the race is over and done with. That's one thing about the Tour of Italy, day in, day out. The thing can change, it is still there up for grabs. And as we watch then the Fassa Bertola team coming up here, and that's Aito Gonzalez, who seems to have done a much better ride than we would have expected in the past. He's been a bit off the frame, by the way, so perhaps he's looking for a stage victory later on. That's a good ride by him. He was 36 this morning, 13 minutes and 12 seconds down coming through, but a great tactical move then to put Bruzagin out there in that early break. And here Frigo coming through. Fassa Bertola could well be, I think, the team leaders today on the time. They come across the line. Frigo this morning back there had a lot to do to make up ground. He has moved himself up a little bit. We could see a great shuffling of the top 10 places, and one or two of the riders who've lost time in the recent stages will find themselves. I think Cabelli comes in. My goodness, just shows what those final 3 kilometres could do. He was out there looking good and suddenly hit the wall and had to struggle all the way. Pelazzotti coming in for the Laso team. The Italians loving this man, and I think we might have an interview right now coming up on our screen, so I'll just let it before your very eyes come on the screen of the riders coming in here to the finish. And for many of them now, this is going to be something they will talk about for some time to come, as our cameras go down and show you the route at which they've come up. And a replay of Simone winning the stage and keeping the pink jersey. Noted mountain climber has taken this race not exactly by the scruff of the neck, but he's shown that providing he doesn't have too many problems towards the back end of this race, that he could be in there towards the end of the race and still in a pink jersey. But you never know with bike racing, and today was really the first a rattling of the swords in the sabre, because they're going back now, interviewing the various riders about what happened and what didn't happen. They've all realised now that who the boss is. That's Simone. But there again, as every cyclist knows, you have good days and bad days. He was on a good day today with Simone, and he certainly confirmed there, looking at the running down the order, about not only winning the stage, giving himself 20 seconds bonus as well, that he's certainly going to be completely clear in that pink jersey for the next stage coming up on Eurosport. That's tomorrow. I think we're back on there about 2:30 tomorrow. Still the excitable Italians enjoying the atmosphere, and it's going to be a long old time before the climbers come in, sorry, the sprinters come into sight. The McEwens of this world, who won the stage yesterday, are still struggling at the bottom of this mountain. They have to stay within inside the time. And this is Tonkov. Now that is a bit of a bad day for Tonkov. Way down on the frame, Tonkov, as Casagrande is still in the shout. We see a picture of him crossing the line here, but Tonkov, past winning this race, I think can now say bye-bye to a place in the top three. Tonkov started this morning 1 minute 52 seconds down, and he's lost a hatful of time in that final 5 kilometres. That's the general rundown on the classification, and certainly Tonkov's name dropping off the frame. We just saw him coming in here. It looks to me as if there's the confirmation of the overall stand at the moment. Noe, sorry to pick out Noe, by the way. Looking, we saw Popovic and Casagrande, Rumsash, Toshnik, Pelazzotti. Noe has always been to me a bit like a ghost. He rides in there and you don't spot him very much. He follows in the wheels, but he still stayed in that third spot. He started out this morning riding for the Lazio team at 56 seconds. He's still there in third spot. And my apologies for not picking him out while I was getting sort of all wound up about the way in which Simone and Garzelli were batting away at each other. So my apologies about that for all fans of the Lazio team and those who want to kit your car out with their aluminium wheels. That Noe is still there in third spot. Pelazzotti is still there, dropping off. But Tonkov was fifth this morning at 1:52. Now seems to have dropped out of the frame. So there we are. Simone winning the stage and confirming the fact he's got the pink jersey going into the stage tomorrow. This is the man who, when he started out, by the way, as a young lad, he went out to see the 1984 Giro d'Italia, and he decided to grow over the Dolomites. He lives not far from that lot, and out they went. He said, I was 13 years of age. They did 220 kilometres that day, and they left home at 6 o'clock in the morning, got home at 10 o'clock at night, and they rode 4 mountain passes, and that was the day they went out to watch the Giro when Francesco Moser eventually won the Giro. So that's a man at the early age of 13, just loved climbing up the big mountains. Tomorrow will not be exactly the same by any means. We've got a more restful day. It's undulating on stage 13 as we go into Masakita, and you'll see we're back on air here at 2:30 British Eurosport time. And for those of you watching our live broadcast this afternoon, thanks for your company. I look forward to being with you tomorrow, and on that occasion I think we're going to see a different sort of setup, but it's been a very interesting day today, and I've enjoyed watching it. I hope you have too as well. So I'm David Duffield, sitting here enjoying the surroundings, enjoying the signs and the sounds of the Italian tifosi, who are going to be very happy indeed that they've got this man here, Simone, in that pink jersey. Up there on the rostrum, the winner of the stage. That's what he's getting now, is the flowers, the kisses, the congratulations. He has the red jersey in a minute. Once that's over and done with, he'll have the pink jersey to show he's still in the lead. Simone in the lead then. Overall, and he came across the line in 34 seconds. He grabbed a few seconds extra vital bonus, setting the scene for the next few days. There we are. That's a good look back at setting the scene over this first time we've been up this fantastic climb of the Zonklat.